More big storms are moving across the United States, and they will produce damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes over the next few days, in addition to some locally heavy and torrential downpours, which could cause some localized flooding as well. A major heat wave will build as we go into the July 4th holiday weekend and beyond, and we're going to look at the tropical weather update in this video. If you are new here, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel. We do daily weather forecast breakdowns right here. Like the video, especially to enjoy it throughout, and share it with a friend, family member on social media. If you have any comments, questions, and concerns, make sure to jot that down in the comment section down below this video. We are here all day, 24/7, all night, to answer any and all questions you may have. Looking here at the slight risk of severe weather, where scattered severe thunderstorms are possible across portions of Montana this afternoon and evening. In the dark green surrounding that, back into northwestern Wyoming, central Idaho, and eastern Oregon, also down into eastern Nevada, western Utah, and northwestern Arizona, and parts of the upper Midwest into the central Great Lakes toward Michigan. That's where we have isolated severe thunderstorms possible in the dark green. And looking at the hazards, they could bring up to 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts across central portions and northern portions of Montana, and that is most likely in yellow. Still possible in the brown. We could be seeing 60 to 70-mile-per-hour winds as well. And then we look at the hail threat, mainly confined over here into Minnesota, northern Iowa, Wisconsin, and into portions of central and northern Michigan, including parts of the UP of Michigan, where quarter-size hail will be possible. Again, the heat at the surface and aloft will prevent large hailstones from really getting out of hand. So quarter-size hail is what we're looking at. And then again, thankfully today, the tornado threat is very low. It's less than 2%, but can't rule out an isolated brief tornado anywhere across the United States. Looking here at the west first, where that slight risk is into Montana, all is quiet here at noon. As we go into the mid-afternoon, we're going to see that monsoonal flow and really starting to get those thunderstorms going across much of the Rockies. And up here, we have a lot of those winds in the jet stream further north, and that is in conjunction to instability and moisture, and that's what you need for severe weather, and that's why we're going to be seeing the potential for up to 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts here, quarter-size hail, and a very low brief tornado risk across Montana, central Idaho, into eastern Oregon. Also some feisty storms there in eastern Nevada, western Utah, and northwestern Arizona that need to be watched as well. That will carry into the early evening hours, but as we lose the daytime heating, notice we lose the coverage of those showers and thunderstorms. Further to the east across the upper Midwest into the central Great Lakes we go, and at noon we are actually pretty quiet outside of a shower up into the Arrowhead of Minnesota. And as we go into the early afternoon, things are quiet as well. It's really after about 5 o'clock we see the potential of a few isolated pop-up storm cells. These are going to be very, very brief because the wind shear is not very allowing in this area for a great storm organization. So as soon as they pop up, they might fall apart. So consider yourself lucky if you're in Wisconsin, if you're in Michigan, or even into Minnesota or Iowa that see a downpour today, because those storms are going to be short-lived. Although we could see some more organized storms try to pop up into the wee hours of the morning on Thursday over northern Lake Michigan. Those could track into northern portions of the state of Michigan. Now, as we go into tomorrow on Thursday, July 3rd, we have a couple marginal risks of severe weather across the United States where isolated severe thunderstorms are possible. First one up here into eastern Montana, into the western and central Dakotas. Another one in southeast Minnesota, northeastern Iowa, southern Wisconsin, and northern Illinois, stretching into northern Indiana, into Ohio and Michigan, and then another one into the northeast. This includes Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, all the way back into Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. Tomorrow, we're mainly looking at some gusty winds, 50 to even 60 miles per hour in these brown shaded colors. Big cities in the mix here: Milwaukee, Chicago, down to Fort Wayne, Toledo, and Detroit. And then over here into areas of Portland, Maine, Boston, New York City, Hartford, Providence, and even Concord, New Hampshire. You guys are all included with that threat as we go into tomorrow for wind. Hail is mainly confined into areas of the Northeast. So again, Portland, Boston, Concord, down there to Hartford, Providence, New York City, Albany, and even into Trenton, New Jersey. You have the threat for some quarter-size hail tomorrow on Thursday, July 3rd. And the threat for tornadoes, again, thankfully, is less than 2%. So that means tornadoes are unlikely as we go through the day on Thursday. Looking here at the central United States view, Thursday morning, all is quiet again outside of a couple of showers. And as we go into the late morning hours, that will continue. Maybe a pop-up storm here in eastern Iowa and northwestern Illinois tomorrow about midday. And then as we go into the afternoon, we're watching a couple supercells, very weak steering current here in the jet stream. That means once they pop up, they're going to be moving very slowly, and that makes for picturesque supercells. And if they produce a tornado, that is definitely a possibility up here, but this is mainly for wind and hail up across the western Dakotas, and that will carry into the evening hours. Additional storms will start to develop on a warm front that lifts across the Midwest, so areas of Rochester, Minnesota, La Crosse, Madison, Milwaukee, Chicago, and Rockford, Illinois. May have to watch out for those as we go into tomorrow evening, and those could produce some locally heavy downpours. Across the Northeast, we are looking at some storms as well, starting tomorrow morning across upstate New York. Those will cross eastward into Vermont, eventually getting into New Hampshire before fizzling late morning. And then as we go into the afternoon, just some scattered pop-up thunderstorms anywhere across the Northeast there from Pennsylvania to Maine. And again, not every one of you will see storms. Actually, about 60 to 70% of you will remain dry tomorrow. But if you get under a storm, damaging winds, 50 to 60 mile per hour. We could be seeing some quarter-size hail and a very low tornado risk, in addition to some locally heavy downpours. And finally, going here into Independence Day on Friday, July 4th, we have marginal risk where isolated severe thunderstorms will be across the eastern Dakotas, much of Minnesota, and northwest Wisconsin, up toward Lake Superior as we go into Friday. And again, this is mainly going to be an afternoon and evening ordeal, where we have a line of storms developing back here into Minnesota, eastern Dakotas, down into Nebraska. They will sweep east. So any firework displays across the northern plains and upper Midwest like Minnesota, western Iowa may be disrupted, unfortunately, as we go into your Friday evening. Going into Saturday and the upcoming holiday weekend itself, that disturbance will actually round that ridge and bring some showers and storms into the Midwest, areas that desperately need it. Milwaukee, Chicago, Des Moines, down to Kansas City and St. Louis there. If not on Saturday, on Sunday that will sweep through. Then as we go into early next week, Monday, we're just seeing some pop-up storms from the Northeast, Ohio Valley down here into the Mid-South, where isolated severe weather will continue to be a possibility. Another disturbance moves across the northern plains like the Dakotas and Minnesota on Tuesday, July 8th. That could bring more isolated to scattered severe weather, and then that will continue across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Great Lakes on Wednesday, July 9th, and Thursday, July 10th. And then as we go into later next week, again, another disturbance across the northern plains that will cross through the Midwest into the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley for the following weekend. So between Saturday, this upcoming weekend, and the following Saturday through July 12th, we're going to be seeing above average rains and precipitation in general across the central plains, nosing its way eastward into the Midwest in what we call the ag belt, right? That's where the corn crops are, that's where the soybeans are, and the farmers probably won't complain about the rainfall as we go into the next 7 days, because it will be nice for the corn crops to get some moisture out there. And looking here at their temperatures, right, we have a little bit of a trough in eastern Canada that's bringing our northwesterly winds down, and you notice the lower humidity across the Great Lakes and the Northeast with it. Well, our ridge is going to reestablish as we go into Thursday, if not Friday, for Independence Day. That means a slug of warm and humid air from the south will be pushing further to the north, so enjoy the lower humidity today as it is. And then really going into the weekend and next week, that ridge is really going to establish itself across the desert Southwest, getting very hot once again. Here are your highs this afternoon on Wednesday, July 2nd. We got 90s all the way up here, maybe triple digits into eastern Montana. 90s, mid-90s that will be across the central and southern plains. Rain-cooled air with the monsoonal moisture across West Texas into New Mexico up into Colorado. 107 there. Actually, it seems cooler down there in Phoenix compared to what we have been seeing. As we go into tomorrow, the 90s will start to march eastward into the Midwest. Chicago 92, 91 in Des Moines, 94 in Omaha, and 92 as well there into St. Louis. And keep in mind, this is just your temperature with the moisture factored in and the evapotranspiration of the moisture from the corn crops giving off moisture. Yeah, our heat indexes are going to easily be touching 100 here in the Midwest on Thursday, and the same deal on Friday, and the 90s continue across the Ohio Valley. And then the heat starts to build across the Northeast as we get into Sunday, July 6th, and we are seeing 90s all the way to Maine. Cooler air with a cold cold front will come in across the upper Midwest there. So the Twin Cities, for example, La Crosse, Green Bay, all the way to Fargo and Bismarck into the 70s and low 80s there. Comfortable humidity behind the front on Monday. And then here comes the heat again back into the 80s. And then the heat really builds across the desert Southwest. Phoenix 111, 109, 110 even into the Vegas region. And overnight lows for now are manageable. But as we get into tomorrow morning, we're going to start to see a lot of those 70s getting into play here, especially by Independence Day morning. And then as we go into the morning of July 5th, some record warm lows being found up there into the upper Midwest and Great Lakes in the mid 70s. And then that will swing eastward. And then a cold front will actually bring some refreshing 50s for lows into the forecast in the northern plains, upper Midwest early next week, enough to crack open those windows. Let's look here at your fire weather risk. We have elevated fire weather concerns across Washington State and northern Oregon today. A dry thunderstorm risk from portions of Montana down there into Nevada, Utah, western Wyoming, and western Colorado, which means there's not going to be really any rain from those. That's why they're called dry thunderstorms, but lightning could spark some new fires, so keeping an eye on that. Going into Thursday, July 3rd tomorrow, we have an elevated fire weather risk across western Nevada in orange, and dry thunderstorm risk there from southern Wyoming, eastern Utah, into western Colorado. And finally, for Independence Day on Friday, July 4th, elevated fire weather concerns near Vegas there in southeastern portions of Nevada and into southwestern Utah. Just be mindful of any firework displays out there across the west. Could spark some new fires there as we go into Independence Day. Let's look here at the tropics and your tropical weather update. Hurricane Flossie continues to bring some problems to the East Pacific, and just on its heels, we have a 50% chance development there in the East Pacific Ocean as well. And right now, focusing on Flossie, this is a hurricane, and it is maximum sustained winds of 110 miles per hour, moving west-northwest at 10 miles per hour as well. It will remain a hurricane today, but as we go into tomorrow morning, it will be a tropical storm and then a post-tropical cyclone once we get into Independence Day on Friday, July 4th, and the upcoming holiday weekend there on Saturday and Sunday. So let's take a look at the trajectory of Flossie and where we expect it to go. It's going to continue to remain on a track to the west-northwest over the next few days, fizzling as it encounters some cooler waters there just to the west of the Baja of California. And then right on its heels, we got to watch another system that may develop into a tropical depression, for example, as we go into the later portion of the holiday weekend on Sunday, July 6th, if not Monday, July 7th, somewhere here in the East Pacific. Now we look here at the Atlantic, and the Atlantic has a 40% chance, a little bit of increased odds since we talked yesterday, for the Florida Peninsula there, up there off the Carolina and Georgia coast. Again, I still think that this is mainly a rain system here. Over the next few days, we're just going to have a frontal boundary that could bring some, heavier torrential and tropical rains across Florida and just off the coast of the Carolinas and Georgia. I don't think we're talking about a tropical storm. I certainly don't think we're talking about a hurricane here, but just to know that the Bermuda High out here is steering our flow underneath. So into the Caribbean, into the Gulf, we still need to watch this as we go toward the middle of July. Thank you all for watching. I definitely appreciate it. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel, especially if you are not subscribed. We do daily weather forecast breakdowns here on the channel. Like the video, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed the forecast. Share it with a friend, family member on social media, and of course, comment any questions and comments, concerns that you may have in the comment section down below this video. I definitely appreciate it. We're here 24/7 all day, all night to answer any and all questions that you may have. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you for all your support, and I hope everyone has a wonderful and safe rest of their Wednesday out there.